Correspond society with our games. They call it impiety and lack of propriety and quite a variety of...
The last thing I want to focus on is the whole purpose of this crucifixion thing. The crucifixion thing gets your attention, you know. This little bunny on the cross kind of gets your attention, doesn't it? So the whole idea of the purpose of this is Jesus died for your sins. And I'd like to deconstruct this. It might take a while. Is the whole purpose of the crucifixion. Well, first off, did Jesus die? Well, if so, then he's dead. Get over it, right? We talked about the nature of Jesus. Was he a God or is he man? If he didn't die, if Jesus lives, then the statement is patently false. Jesus didn't die for your sins because he didn't die. Okay, so that's the first thing that needs to be said. Is you know, if you're going to claim that Jesus is still alive, then Jesus didn't die. Next thing is, what is sin? Well, sin is an offense against God. So first off, you need, if you're going to even accept the notion of sin, which I don't, you're going to need to show that A, God exists, B, he can be offended even though he's supposedly omnipotent, right? And he would be offended by something you would do, which means that you sort of have some sort of power over God. If you can offend him, you have power over him. And 3, that he deeply cares about your sexual thoughts and whether you masturbate and these things. And I just don't find it compelling. So the whole notion of sin is pretty crazy. So then you have this notion of original sin, which is what Jesus is supposed to be addressing, right? So your very existence is an affront to God, right? So the fact that Eve gave Adam an apple in Genesis, which of course is an obvious fable, and obviously entrapment, because mankind was supposed to act as robots and not make intelligent decisions because they didn't have the knowledge to do that, because they hadn't yet eaten from the tree of knowledge. A lot of crazy stuff. God lied also about Adam dying that day. So it's a fable. Okay, so just because of this fable, we're all supposed to owe some sort of debt to somebody, which is kind of a con game, in my opinion. So the whole original sin. So if you believe in original sin, then you believe that babies deserve to be tortured, which is obviously bullshit, and you probably think that abortion is just fine, right? So because that's just, you know, less painful than being tortured, I guess, for all eternity. So that's original sin. The whole purpose of Jesus is to sort of cure the original sin, which is God screw up in the first place. So we have God coming back to appease himself with some sort of blood sacrifice to himself, which is pretty crazy. Supposedly, your offense to God is inherited through your parental line. So you are effectively guilty of something that somebody else did, which is morally reprehensible. Jesus is supposed to fix that somehow. So how can someone else be punished for something that you did? So that's also morally reprehensible, right? We spend a lot of time when we enforce our laws to go after the criminal who actually did some harm to somebody else and make sure that those persons are put in jail, not some random person off the street. So this whole notion of substitutive sacrifice is wrong. Please leave me out of this con game. Finally, God orchestrated the whole thing, but Jews get blamed for it. So, you know, this is God's performance art. Has nothing to do with me. But it makes a fine excuse to kill Jews, apparently. So this whole thing is a giant extortion racket, and Jesus is just an excuse to say, oh, well, he died for my sins. I don't have to take any responsibility for my actions. God still loves me.
Correspond society with our games. They call it impiety and lack of propriety and quite a variety of unpleasantness.